Good morning, it's May 8th, 2020. I'm back out here at the UVM Horticulture Research and Education Center in one of our older organic orchards, formerly organic orchards. A little bit of concern in the fruit growing world right now about the weather that's coming up in the next couple of days. Predicted cold down in the low 30s, upper 20s, maybe lower 20s inland, away from the lake. And that's a good thing that's where it is, mainly because of bud stage. I'm going to talk about bud stage real quick here. The concern is that these plants that have budded out might be tender, and we may lose some fruit buds. And I'm just going to talk about how that's not as much of a concern as we think it is. So I'm going to flip my camera here real quick, and we will see. This is ginger gold. You'll see these are at what I would say is full pink or maybe even late pink bud stage. That means those blossoms are going to be open next week sometime. It's going to be cold all weekend, so there's not going to be a lot of movement. This here is Zestar, also at the pink bud stage. And then next thing we have over here is McCowan, which is a little bit later. These are at the tight cluster bud stage. What's important about all of these is as the buds open progressively, they become more tender to cold temperatures. Which means that damage can happen at higher temperatures. Now, there's a lot of solutes that are inside of plant tissues, so the freezing point of plant cells is not 32 degrees. It's closer, it's lower than that. So, the most tender things are at is when you're at full bloom or even that late pink stage. But fortunately, 28 degrees is what we generally assume as the point at which you start to get about 10% bud kill, and you can sustain 10% bud kill. As the buds are more and more closed, meaning they've opened less, they tend to be hardier to where at tight cluster bud stage, lower 20s, the buds can sustain. Now it's easy to just look at a chart and put a single number on things. One of the trickier things about the weather coming this weekend is it's going to be sustained cold. So that's a little bit more of a concern, that the cold will be sort of drawn out over multiple days. It's also going to be really windy, which could potentially desiccate tissues a little bit, maybe impact things greater. But as long as I think it stays in the upper 20s, 28 or above, I'm not as concerned. And the other thing is there's going to be snow. Happy Mother's Day. And the snow can potentially provide some insulation. They could also, if it snows and then freezes for at least some point of it, you could have some latent heat of freezing. So you could actually get some benefit from that snowfall. So we're going to be walking the line pretty tight over this weekend. I feel like we're going to be on the safer side of that line. And the other thing to recognize is we're here in the Champlain Valley. I walked through, the progression of bud stages, starting with our most advanced, and I didn't even cover some of the later cultivars that are even tighter than tight cluster, even more less advanced than tight cluster. So if you are in a cooler site and you are at a less advanced bud stage, you've got even a few extra degrees of protection going for you. There's not much you can do about situations like this. Really all you can do is, provide good tree nutrition before and after. I will recommend, and I'll probably be checking in on Monday, and maybe we'll pinch some buds then and see if we can see any damage yet. But this is a good time to start thinking about a pre-bloom nutrient application spray. Nitrogen, boron, zinc is the cocktail that Dr. Warren Stiles sort of developed at Cornell University years and years ago, and it works as just a good general tonic to help improve the nutrition of the fruit buds, both for cold hardiness, for kind of rebounding from cold temperatures, and also to provide vital nutrients to the developing blossoms and fruitlets after pollinization and after fertilization. So we'll talk about that next week. I'll put some links down in the comments below to the nutrient cocktail mix and the critical bud temperatures for fruit trees in Vermont. Thanks. Bye.